One of the most prominent
right here in Washington, D.C.
Right here in Washington, D.C. of marital infidelity, among other things. But he has not disappeared. Most of us thought once he was caught so shamelessly that he would be gone from politics forever, but that is not the case. He is trying to make a comeback. According to Time magazine, Spitzer is frustrated, he's restless and desperate to get back into the public arena, but he's just not sure how to do it or even if it's possible. So in the meantime, he's been on all these talk shows. He's been on Bill O'Reilly. He's been on various other conservative talk shows to talk about his position and to do what all other Republicans are doing, ranting and raving about President Obama.
But what does he generally...
Isn't that the pot calling the kettle black? That's what I want to know.
What is he saying about all the deeds that he did bad?
You know, he's kind of hoping that just gets brushed under the carpet. One thing is he's not denying it. You know,
But he should be like Mayor Barry. Get over it.
Well, I just find it just so interesting that politicians, even when they've fallen from grace in the limelight this way, they always seem to find a way to come back and hope that the public has short-term memory and doesn't remember their past squabbles.
That's right.
But, you know, it goes to show you that all politicians, Republican or Democrats, nobody's free from corruption.
There's one rumor out there that Governor Bloomberg might run for president as an independent. And I know the last election that was the same case, but at that time he said he loves New York and that's what he's going to do. But this time they're saying it's true, he might run for president.
You know, I would love to see him run, but not in 2012. I think that we need to give this president his full opportunity to make a difference. 4 years is just not enough. Look at how slow we are to move in the Congress just to get simple things passed. 4 years is just literally not enough. Give the man his 8 years, and then, yes, I think it should be a very interesting follow-up election to Obama.
But I still think if they make them work 40 hours a week, congressmen and senators, we'll be in very good shape. Take a look at this article. You know, I don't know if it's a misnomer. It says a condom that keeps PCs safe. Now, you know, Google got hit. You understand Department of Defense gets hit, and other, all of us get hit. So that means we do not really have a system how to protect the PCs. Now, this company out of Herndon, the guys from Russia, by the way, so they have come up with a system, which the Defense Department has tried also. Basically what it is a box in front of your computer, and that is where you play. That's where you read, and that's what you answer. But you don't directly get involved, so consequently, there is no security breach. You're a tech guru, tell me.
Well, so we're talking about a figurative condom. We're not actually talking about something you put over your machine or anything like that.
But this shows the box is very small.
Well, it's an interface. It's an interface that is between you and the PC, so that it's basically controlling all your inputs and your outputs, which is not really such a new idea, but I think they've probably come up with a way to create a very streamlined way of doing this so that they can protect every ingoing and outbound message. You know, this is not so different from the concept of a firewall. We're all used to hearing that term, but what makes this different is that the entire operating system and memory is in this InZero's sandbox. That's the name of this device.
That's right.
And it's read-only. So basically, it can't be changed by a virus, and hackers can't get into the device and change it, which is the way most people try to get in and hack the system.
They send a command to your computer.
That's right. So this is basically all taking place in a virtual sandbox, and all systems and messages are basically inspected before they interact with your machine. So it creates a layer of protection before you get to the actual device.
God, that'll be so nice. You know, I tell you, we get spammed so often. Viruses, you know, you worry about them, you buy all of this security system, you still get busted once in a while.
Well, it's imperfect. Security, like anything, is imperfect, but you're always trying to stay one step ahead of the hackers. You know, we've been talking about media and journalism for some time, especially how it has been transitioning these past few years. Newspapers are going out of business. Print media seems to be losing its advertising revenue to everything online. These days, everything is online, and because of sites like YouTube, people are becoming citizen journalists, basically creating their own content and making it available to the public. Well, as a result, journalists are having to change who they are. You know, it used to be that the journalist was was working in a mass team of people. You know, there was a cameraman, there was an editor, there was a story writer, and the journalist, you know, oftentimes...
And the guy who carries a mic. You know.
That's right. And the guy in front of the camera, the journalist, was really supposed to be, you know, the center of attention of it all.
That's right.
Well, these days, that's not the way it is. For one, having those large teams and all that equipment is expensive. And because all those things have shrunk down with technological advancement, these days journalists are having to become their own one-man shop for everything. They are their own editors, they are their own film, they capture their own films, they write their own stories, and they become what they are essentially calling a digital journalist, which in a way is kind of sad because the old glory of the media, I think, is disappearing and being replaced by much smaller one-man shows, if you will, of journalists that are out in the field. You can't stop this from happening, but I also think in a way it's good for journalism.
Or it's good for journalism. It's shows like ours that have actually showed people that you don't need $1 million budget to put out a 1-hour show every week, and we've been doing it for 21 years. The only reason we have not gone in the field is we have not been able to find a digital journalist. If we found a digital journalist, sure enough, we're going to send it to the community and let them do the work. One of these days, that is going to happen.
Well, we could invite the community, actually, to become citizen journalists and send us your videos. You never know. We might be able to cover some of that here on the show. But, you know, one other point this article makes, which I thought was terrific, is that, you know, because of that old-style media, it was often very intimidating for people to feel close to journalists. They didn't open up, they didn't share. But these days, because it's far less intimidating to be seated in front of a single journalist who is doing everything from editing, capturing the story, and interviewing you, I think overall the quality of the information that's coming to the journalist is probably better. It's probably getting better. There's less formality and more informality.
And plus, the guest sees how hard-working journalist he is, so naturally they want to give him a little more scoop. So you're right, it works. So
it'll be interesting to see what happens with journalism in the next 10 years. I think we're in a place of no return, and we'll be getting our news and our views from people in a totally different way than what we've been used to these past 20 years.
Trends are changing, and